Yes, we're victims slash survivors of the Eaton fire.
Well, today we came in to sign our trust and estate and will documents. NHS was so gracious to provide these services to survivors of the fires. And we had been talking about it as we're getting a little older, and it was our intent to do that anyway. So the timing was perfect. It's very needed for many people in the community, so us included. So that's why we're here today, and we completed the process. And I'm from one, I think it's a relief off of our shoulders that we had that important paperwork for our current and our future taken care of.
We went to one of the community events they had in Pasadena, California. So they came and did a big outpouring to the community. And once we went to the first event, we've been with NHS ever since. Well, we knew that we needed a trust. We have three older daughters. And unfortunately, myself, in between 2016 and 2023, we lost all of our parents. So having a trust was very important. And it was something that we wanted to do actually before the fires. So this it became a great opportunity for them to step in and do something that we had already planned on doing, like my wife said anyway. Also, we learned a lot. There was a panel with a lot of mental health people involved, and a lot of people are not only suffering financially, physically, but a lot of people are suffering mentally. And NHS has some great speakers that would help us, especially myself, to deal with some of the mental issues that we're facing with dealing with the loss of our home.
They just were very well rounded in all of the resources that were brought into the community, because when a disaster like this happens, your mind is just all over the place. But they help to bring to perspective what are the most important things for us to do now and in the future for ourselves. So again, we're just so appreciative and grateful.
The Bible says that a good parent will leave inheritance for his children's children. So we have one granddaughter as of now. And it's something that in our community, we were taught to get up, go to work, provide for, but we need to be able to pass those things down on to our daughters and our granddaughter. So she doesn't necessarily have to deal with the same struggles that may have to deal with, working a 9 to 5, only putting money into a savings account. It's just building wealth after one generation, after another generation, so that when she gets ready to have kids, speaking of our granddaughter, that she won't have to, work long hours. I've been a professional truck driver for the last 37 years. You know what I'm saying? So if generational wealth was passed down to me, I wouldn't have to work so hard. So it's very important that we pass that down to our next generation.
Yeah. And as Damon said, in particularly losing our parents, really just kind of brought it front and center of how important it is to prepare now for your future. I mean, we're all going to leave this earth, and we both have been in the position where our elders have passed away, and we're left with a bunch of responsibilities. And it's already hard enough when you're grieving, but to have things in place that make it easier to navigate through that season is so vitally important. So I'm glad that I think both of us are doing this earlier than what we believe our parents did. And we want to be able to set that example, not just in our words, but in deed to our children, and let them know how important it is to prepare for your future.
Special thanks to Don.
Yeah,
I'm
great.
I deal with people and deal with trust issues and stuff like that. When Don, at one of the events that we went to, he can see that I was, struggling mentally with the loss of a home. It was everything that I worked my life for to build. And like we were talking about generational wealth, I want to pass it on to my daughters and stuff. So he made sure that he took the time to pull me aside separately, say, look, take advantage of the things that we have to offer you. Don't let this go by. A lot of times people have events and it's not, I'm just being transparent. Sometimes it's not exactly everything that they say it to be, but with NHS, everything that we were looking for, everything that we want, everything that we desire, so far, they've been helping us every step of the way. So I really want to give a heartfelt thank you to Don, to the NHS, to the staff, to everybody that comes together and is really stepping in and helping out the community. So it's very much appreciated.
NHS has followed up with us after the event. I think a lot of people in our situation, as being survivors of the fire, there's so many things that are on your mind, you can become so overwhelmed. So it's great that there are organizations like NHS that will follow up with you, and not just business related, but with compassion and just real care. And to be honest, it's wonderful to see people that look like us. You know, when I speak of that, I mean like African American organizations that are stepping up and doing what's needed to help their community. It's just so needed right now. And I also want to give a shout out to the Kennedy law firm. They have followed up with us by email, by phone call, made sure all the I's were dotted, the T's were crossed, and made sure that we got to this point to get a very important part of our future established, which is our estate planning and our trust, and then explaining what all of it meant so that we understood every step of the way what we were doing and why. And so I want to give a shout out to them as well and their staff just for holding our hand through this entire process.